Who's Mr. Rooney?
Mr. Chairman, I move to strike the last word.
Gentleman's recognized.
Mr. Chairman, yeah, it seems that every time I ask to be recognized on this committee, my statements over the last year have been in efforts to defend a practice or a procedure or regulation that deals with the military and specifically deals with justice in the military. And this is another case, and I just want to raise this point. That the very title of this bill and the purpose of this bill, as written here on our handout, implies an assumption of error or possible wrongdoing or even malfeasance by not only the JAG Corps but the Department of Defense and the Army or any of the branches that I have to speak up against again, because I think that there continues to be this ongoing assumption that we in the JAG Corps, which by the way, as has been stated time and time again, nobody has testified in front of any committee or subcommittee from the Department of Defense, from the military, from the administration on why this bill is necessary or unnecessary. We're going by, as the ranking member stated, one gentleman who's now an Australian citizen who pled guilty in his court-martial for writing bad checks and then sometime thereafter changed his mind. And now we're meeting here today for him to decide whether or not the appellate system that we have in the military is adequate. Every court-martial is automatically reviewed by an appeals court from that individual branch. And then there is the opportunity to go in front of the CAF, as Mr. Johnson pointed out, the Court of Appeals for the Armed Forces, to delve into that further. Then if the CAF determines, as has been stated, that there is a serious issue of constitutionality, a writ assert will be issued to the Supreme Court, and the Supreme Court is the court of last resort as we speak for military members. I have a book that I taught when I was at West Point. This is the book that we teach to the cadets at West Point. This book is filled with Supreme Court cases, which were cases that originated in courts martial. So when we continue to go down this road of saying that the military systems, that what we're doing by bringing Khalid Sheikh Mohammed to New York City is because there's an assumption that we can't do it in military commissions because we're doing something wrong or we're not capable, or that the Ferries doctrine needs to be revisited because the way that we administer justice civilly in the military is insufficient. Or now here we have our appellate system being questioned. When you talk about equal justice in the military, when you talk about putting on the uniform and serving, you are sacrificing certain rights. But the military goes to extreme lengths to make sure that as much as possible that there is equality for service members as much as can be established to a civilian type model. But we have things in the military like absence without leave, disobeying an order, fraternization, and the like, disrespecting a superior officer. There are differences for good order and discipline that we have to have differences in the military, or else we won't be able to protect the security of this country. The Supreme Court has said time and time again that the military is a separate society, that the President, as Commander-in-Chief, has the ability to serve as point man and establish the rules as we do in Congress for the differences that it will take for the sake of good order and discipline in the military. I'll just briefly read the opinion of a case that exemplifies that. The Supreme Court, 1986, Goldman v. Weinberger. The military must foster instinctive obedience, unity, commitment, and esprit de corps. The court must give great deference to the professional judgment of the military authorities concerning the relative importance of a particular military interest. Not only is the court ill-equipped to determine the impact upon discipline that any particular intrusion upon military authority might have, but the military authorities have been charged by the executive and the legislative branches with carrying out our nation's military policy. The CAF is a civilian board. It's not military judges. It's not military officers. They're civilians appointed by the President of the United States, confirmed by the Senate. They take these cases and they run them up to the Supreme Court on a case-by-case basis that's not automatic, admittedly, but something that filters out the cases which may crowd the docket to the Supreme Court, to where the truly important constitutional questions get there. And that does not include writing bad checks. That does not include people that, change their mind sometimes after pleading guilty and then moving to Australia and renouncing his U.S. citizenship. That we are sitting here today discussing whether or not our appellate courts in the military should be changed for this one guy, when the United States Army, the United States military, the Department of Defense, nobody's come here to testify. Once again, there's an inference that we have done something wrong. I take serious offense to it, and I urge people to vote no on this bill. I yield back.
I thank you, Mr. Rooney, for your explanation. I'm going to move this to a vote.